Vice President Kamala Harris will not run for California governor next year, leaving open the possibility that she could mount a third run for the White House in 2028. She said in a statement, over the last 6 months, I have spent time reflecting on this moment in our nation's history and the best way for me to continue fighting for the American people and advancing values and ideals I hold dear. I've given serious thought to asking the people of California for the privilege to serve as their governor. I love this state, its people, and its promise. It's my home. But after deep reflection, I've decided that I will not run for governor in this election. Patrick, your reaction to that? Do you hope that that means that she will run again for president of the United States?
Before we get into their reaction and the things that they're going to say, let me first say this, that basically they were saying that California was hers to lose. Now, that remains to be seen or remains to be debated if California can even stay blue. Even though they stayed blue during the election, Gavin Newsom has done so bad that there are no real notable people that would take over California as far as him being term limited. And so they were basically saying that because of her popularity and because of the fact that California actually turned out for her in the election, which we know that places like California, Colorado, even New York, of course, Chicago, Illinois, that those places are historically blue. So they're saying that because, they turned out for her in the election and because of her name recognition and popularity, that it would be basically hers to lose. Now, there are people, obviously, again, that are debating whether or not she could have still ran California or she could have won California. And I think it's two things right here. The first thing is that she still wants to leave open the possibility of running for president of the United States of America because for whatever reason, she truly believes not only could she beat J.D. Vance, but she would be able to advance out of the primaries as the candidate, the Democratic candidate that's picked at the DNC to be president of the United States of America. That's the first theory. The second theory is that, she maybe didn't want to get embarrassed with the possibility of losing California, which then obviously that would torpedo her chances as a president of the United States of America. But because that election would be happening in the midterm, 2026, basically, if she would have ran for California, whether she ran or lost, whether she won or lost, she would, assuming that she had won, she would be the full-term governor of California. And I think it's too much of a daunting task. I also believe that California is in such bad shape that she don't want that to be a part of her legacy because Gavin Newsom would be basically handing her the reins to a broken state. The state is literally in debt. It is 100% under duress. You got the illegal migrant crisis happening over there. Karen Bass is doing horrible over in Los Angeles. San Francisco is in shambles. You see a shuffling of leadership, and the Democrats really don't have anybody to stand on. Obama has been doing his podcast with Michelle, and he's been doing his podcast rounds lately. Almost makes me think that he has something coming out like a book or a documentary or something like that on Netflix so that they can get some more money. But Kamala Harris has largely been out of the weeds. Like, she hasn't been visible. She hasn't been a person that is even seeming like she wants to continue to run for office. We know that she made I think one appearance, and that was at that whole Emerge situation. So Kamala Harris doesn't really seem like she's wanting to be as visible as she needs to be, especially considering all of the things that have been happening over the last 6 to 7 months where Trump has been getting victory after victory after victory. We know that AOC has been a lot more visible. Bernie Sanders, even Zoran Mamdani, he has been catapulted into the face of the Democratic Party over in New York. But Kamala Harris, she's largely been MIA. She sends in voice recorded messages or pre-recorded messages and things like that. And I just believe that last election, it was such a disaster. And with her losing every single swing state, it was a bad do. It was very, very bad. Visibly, it was bad. And then you combine that with the latest victories, like Trump winning with the EU in a trade war, and it just doesn't look good for the Democrat Party, nor did it look good for anybody that wanted to run for California. But let's see what they got to say over here at Fox News, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts.
I don't think she'll run for president of the United States. Is my gut reading the statement, live here. I thought she was, really considering the governor, but I think she wants to serve in different capacities, is my understanding. But I don't speak for her. I'm not her spokesperson. But let's face it. I mean, she just went through a grueling, presidential race. Her second, cycle of she ran for president, obviously, 5 years ago, and then again this past cycle. So I don't think there'll be a third time, if you're asking me my opinion. But I will tell you that, I think she has an incredibly important voice, and I hope she continues to serve in the public interest in some capacity, whether it's in the private sector or elsewhere.
Tommy, your reaction to this news about Kamala Harris, the former VP?
I honestly don't think she could win, even in California. California is fed up with their failed leadership, and they aren't going to go from one failed leader, Gavin Newsom, to another in Kamala Harris. And I think that she even understands she couldn't win there. I don't think that she's going to run for president again, but I'll tell you this, she's also been largely absent, even in California, with everything that California has gone through, with the immigration riots, of course, the wildfires. That is her home state, and she did not take the opportunity to stand on that stage and speak to those issues in any meaningful way. She just had an opportunity to talk to the future voters of America at a summit, and she sent in a virtual message. This woman is not serious about running for anything, and maybe that's a good thing for her party and for the country.
Quick question to you, Patrick, before I bring in Steve Hilton. I mean, right now there's so much focus, and this, of course, would probably change a bit in the coming years, but right now there's so much focus on what did you know and how much did you understand about the declining abilities of President Biden? And I have to believe, if you're looking at a scenario where you're on a debate stage answering questions or you're in interviews, she would be pressed on this mightily.
No doubt. And can I just say real quick, I disagree with Tommy. I think if she would have ran for governor, she would have won, but that's not the question. The question you're asking is, I do think, Martha, that she'd be asked those questions, those tough questions. And I think that's why a lot of Democrats, a lot of Americans are ready to turn the page. I think they're looking for new generation of leaders, both in the Democratic and Republican Party. And I think you're going to see those leaders emanate from the states, in states like Pennsylvania and Maryland and elsewhere.
Just before I let you go, does Mandami represent that new generation to you, Patrick?
I think it comes from the states, not necessarily the cities. How about that?
All right, guys. Tommy Lahren, Patrick.
So, could she have won California? Obviously, that's a debate. I still think that she's incompetent completely when it comes to politics. It's so many questions that is surrounding Joe Biden's presidency, especially considering that he's seems to be losing all of his functional abilities and cognitive abilities. You see him over there eating ice cream like a person that's being put out the pasture. His son, Hunter Biden, is out here crashing out. And so hopefully Biden can enjoy his retirement from absolutely trying to ruin the United States of America. We don't even know if he was the person that was running the White House at the time. But people expected for her to make a decision sooner rather than later about whether or not she was going to run for governor. Obviously, that opens up possibilities for other candidates that want to run for governor of California. I believe that Gavin Newsom is also trying to gear up to put his bid in to be president of the United States of America, which is laughable. I'm not even sure that the Democrats at this point can field a candidate. They seem like they're in complete shambles. So we are just going to monitor the situation. I personally believe that there will be a battle for president of the United States of America. From the Democrat side, it will be a landslide with J.D. Vance. I believe that the Republican Party already has things set and aligned. You also have different people that are running for governor. Byron Donalds is running for governor of Florida. Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor of of Ohio. And so it's a lot going on. But let me know what y'all think about Kamala Harris deciding that she does not want to run for governor of California. And do you think that she has a chance to possibly win the Democrat nomination for president of the United States of America in 2028? And then more importantly, do you think that she would even have a chance to win? I love you. I appreciate you. I can't wait to read y'all comments. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. I'm out.